The Henry books sort of grew out of a style of illustration that happened over a period of 30 years doing mostly editorial illustration. Most of my work was being used to illustrate op-ed essays, for example. The idea was to be able to have an image stop a reader. This sort of cubist thing, it was a way that I could design a picture to tell a story. The magical thing that happened for me, just on a personal level, was that when I first did the drawings for Henry Hikes to Fitchburg and I did them in this cubist way, it felt playful. It was no longer this sort of designed imagery. It was this playful kind of thing where you had the pictures were kind of like distorted, the way kids would draw them in a way. I finally married my style to a whole genre of imagery of children's books. I guess what I'm doing is choosing work that has resonated with me at Orwell's Animal Farm. Renee Magritte, I was working in illustration all those years, and Magritte's images were iconic in American advertising. I still see spin-offs of Magritte everywhere, and the same with Escher, actually. If I could point to any one person who influenced the first picture book I would do, Henry Hikes to Fitchburg, it would be Howard Zinn, because he introduced Thoreau in different ways to me, and the whole idea of civil disobedience and the kind of life that Henry David Thoreau lived at the time. My favorite book of the Henry books was Henry Climbs a Mountain, and not because it was maybe a better story or the images were any better, but because it was a book someone dared me not to write, and because it was about going to jail. It was about Henry Thoreau's night that he spent in jail for refusing to pay his taxes. So that story was a way of showing kids that you can lock a person up, their body, but you cannot lock up their mind. You can't lock up their imagination. And that's essentially what Thoreau thought of his night in jail. And that was the message that I brought with Henry Climbs a Mountain.